Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr. This is episode 298 of CryptoBiography, and it's part 5 of The Brick Wall. And here we go. Any awkwardness was broken when Carson said, "We're almost at your place." They walked the rest of the way, and Carson found himself grinning. Lydia must have been feeling some of the same things, because she started giggling. He looked down, but she just kept giggling and shook her head. "That was fun," she said, when they stopped in front of her building. He wasn't quite sure if they were at the kissing stage yet, and besides it was still light out. Lydia decided it for him. She tugged on his arm a bit, and he leaned over. She reached up, grabbed the back of his neck, and kissed him deeply. "Good luck with Jake Abernathy. Let me know how it goes," she said, looking him in the eye when she had pulled away. "Yeah," he said, a little stunned. "And good night, Lydia," she reminded him, heading for her door. "Good night, Lydia," he said. He decided he would go straight home. Monday, he woke up and knew it was time at last to join Jake's stable of boxers. They hadn't set a time, and he wasn't sure when they would be there, so he decided to have a light breakfast before making his way there, still bright and early. If no one was there, at least he had tried. But when he arrived at Abernathy's gym and knocked on the door, a man did answer. It was the older man who'd been refereeing the sparring match a couple of nights before. "Hi," Carson said. "I'm Carson. I'm the new boxer." "That's so," said the man in a growl of a voice. His hair was thin on top and graying, but he had a thick neck and a strong build. He was looking Carson over closely. "Yeah, Jake said you'd be stopping by. Come on in. So you boxed before any?" As the man shut the door behind them, Carson decided immediately that honesty would be the best policy when it came to his trainer. "No, not at all." "Well, that's not a real problem. You got no bad habits for me to break." "What's your name?" "Bill Murphy. Carson Brax." "Okay, Carson, strip down." "Beg pardon?" "To your shorts. I want to see what I'm dealing with." Carson did so, first glancing around the large room. No one else was there. He stripped down. Bill grunted. You're used to work." "Yes," Carson agreed. "Farm boy and footballer growing up. More recently I worked at a stable." "Well, you passed the first test. There'll be lots of others." "First test?" "Yes, you stripped down even though I told you were even though I could tell you were uncomfortable. That means you're willing to go further than someone would if they were just playing around with the idea. Next, take this quarter. Follow the road as far as it goes. Get a coffee cake from Benton's, best in the city. Bring it back to me. If you're in top shape, you can do it in 15 minutes. Since we're just starting, I'll give you 25. I suggest you get some water when you're at Benton's so you don't cramp on the way back." Carson took off, determined to make it in 15 minutes, not the 25 of a novice. He was already panting when he saw Benton's. He stumbled in and went to the counter, which fortunately only had one customer ordering at the moment. He then asked the young woman at the counter for a coffee cake. She looked back a little, shocked at the large man sweating and asking for a coffee cake. Then she smiled and even gave a quick laugh. "You must be one of Bill Murphy's." "Yeah." "Yep. He sends his boxers down here all the time, almost always for a slice of coffee cake. And I'll get you some water." She got the water first, and he noticed that she poured some white granules in it first, which he assumed was sugar. When she gave him the water, he gratefully drank it, but almost choked. It was salty, not sweet, she noticed. The salt will help you keep you from cramping, even more than just the water. "Interesting," he said. He drank some more and noticed it wasn't too strong. He'd just not expected it to taste salty at all the first time. "That's Bill Murphy's idea. He said there was a scientific study a few years ago about it, so he had us add a little salt to his boxer's water. They all swear by it." Carson was impressed. "Thanks again," he said. "My pleasure. Here's his coffee cake," she said, handing him a well-wrapped package. "Normally it wouldn't be a whole quarter, but he pays more to wrap it extra and take good care of his boxers. Speaking of which, want any more water?" "No, thanks," he said, tossing the rest of it back. He put the glass back on the counter. "Thanks, it's been interesting." "Have a good run back," she said. He wasn't back in the 15 minutes he wanted, but he did it in less than 19. He was really puffing when he got back. "Let's see that coffee cake," Bill said, extending a hand, but Carson noticed that he was looking at him closely. "Still in pretty good shape. Nice. Cramping at all?" "No," Carson said. "I think that salt in the water helped." "I agree," Bill said. "It doesn't slake the thirst quite as well, but it does the trick most of the time." We'll have you running a lot more than that soon. But I want to get some other information first. Let's see how much you can lift. He walked over to the weights. For the next hour, he had Carson lift weights in different ways, finding out how strong he was with each method. Take a break, Bill said when Jake Abernathy came into the gym. Have some water. Plain water will do. Be with you shortly. Bill and Jake went into the office, and Carson waited. He could start to feel a cramp coming in one leg, so instead of sitting down, he walked around and tried to keep the cramp from taking hold. Fortunately, it worked. He kept walking around the gym until Bill and Jake re-entered. They both walked over to him. "So, Carson, I see you're training," Jake said. "Indeed," he agreed. "Well, a little late, but let's go over terms. You'll train here. You'll fight for me, not on your own or under someone else's banner. You'll pay $5 a week for training. You can borrow ahead from your purses for future fights so that you don't have to work full-time if you don't want. The purse comes from the total gate. Half goes to the gymnasium for providing the venue and getting the word out. The rest is split between the boxers. Refreshment sales are not part of the purse. Every loser gets 1 share. Every winner gets 3 shares. There's a headline fight each night. Each fight night, the loser of the headline gets 3 shares. The winner gets 9 shares. Questions? How much is a share worth, generally? About $7. And how often can I fight? As much as once a week. So if I fight for you every week and lose, I'll net $2 after paying you back. If I win, I'll net about $16. More if I get to headline fight? Yep. How long before I can fight? Not long. Bill here seems to think you got a good head start already. Maybe a month out if you work hard. I made for tricky math because Carson didn't have the money to pay for rent as well as gym fees for a month before he could start making money. Okay, deal. Deal, said Jake, holding out his hand. They shook on it. And that's the story for this week. I think I read it rather fast because it's the same length as usual, but it went really fast. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed writing it and still have a lot more to write, of course. If you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, cryptobiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter, or now Mastodon. And thanks for listening. Words and music copyright 2023, CryptoBiography LLC, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.